Hey, Railway here. I freshly came from a shower, and let me tell you, um, that isn't self explanatory. In fact, I want to use this moment because the shower was still fresh to tell you that I have an intense fear of water, and the simple reason for this is a traumatic experience that I was never really able to process because at the time it happened, I still lived with my parents and they were never really able to deal with it. They just told me that I should get over it and that what my psyche did was not real. They generally consider psychology to be a pseudoscience, which at this point it really isn't. Um, it works with statistics, it works with explanations, causalities, everything a science really has. And it has its principles, but I'm not here to talk about the validity of psychology. I'm here to talk about my fear of water. Um, so as I may have already mentioned somewhere on my channel, um, when I absolutely loved to swim. I remember I started swimming when I was about in first grade, um, and I it was it was just so I would try it out. Um, the story was that basically I had it was known since I was 5 that I had Asperger's, and it's often connected to struggles with motoric development. So people kept an eye on me on that, and nothing was noticed in the first few months after I was diagnosed. However, as PE became more and more serious because as soon as it came to ball games, because British it was like we were so little, first grade, it's just running around and stuff. When it came to ball games, suddenly people noticed that I was absolutely terrible at throwing and catching, and none of that worked. So there was originally a kind of therapy that focuses on the hand grip, which is basically being able to throw and catch. And that turned out not to be enough. So eventually a specialist when it comes to motorics came in, and it turned out she herself had issues with motorics when she was little, so she knew what she was doing, and it was about I don't know, hanging on stuff and like parkours. There were like these kind of motoric parkours, I remember, and it worked not because my motorics really changed, but rather because she was able to give me the confidence that I could get over the struggle I had, and it eventually worked. However, as soon as I no longer received the help because it was assumed that my problem was gone now, or at least no longer as prevalent, my motorics became worse again, and so it had to be initiated again, um, and it turns out that my case was what is today known as psychomotorical, which is I don't really know. The difference is really just that it's all about the confidence in one's own motoric abilities. And the thing is that because school is school and it's based on being punished or rewarded with school grades, there was so much pressure that it made my motorics worse and worse. And so, really, it never improved. It became even worse and worse. And then when I think at this point I was in second grade, or maybe still in first, I they were like desperately looking for a solution when suddenly a Finnish immigrant came in and volunteered to offer help, and she proposed swimming classes, making me learn to swim because it trained my entire body. And so I did that with her, and it worked really, really well. And I started to absolutely love swimming. And it was very fun. There was like, it worked very, very, very well. And my entire body became more robust within what was possible at that age. And also, but especially my coordination improved significantly. However, it was still, my problems were still too prevalent to be ignored or not accounted for. So I just continued to swim, and when third grade came in, coincidentally, the primary school was then was offering swimming class for those who were interested, and so I had decided to join in because at that point I absolutely loved swimming, and it went as far as finding my home there, and it helped me to stay connected to my surroundings. I always felt like, especially connected after swimming, I felt like realigned, and especially considering my sensory sensitivities, and the fact that the world is not made for people like me, it was a huge relief that swimming was for everyone, and that for me it was particularly great. Of course, the sensory issues did cause entering the water and exiting the water to be quite complicated for me for quite a while, and it always took quite long. But as I progressed, I was able to deal with that better and better. The thing is, my body absolutely didn't like the transition from land to water and from water back. But since my body also really liked the status of like being in the water, I overcame that entering thing real quick. The exiting thing was also quite doable, even though the sudden changes in temperature were always problematic for me because my body was always especially sensitive to that, and I caught myself quite a few colds from sudden temperature transitions from water to land. And then fast forwarding after third and fourth grade, in seventh grade was the next time that a school offered swimming. For those who don't know, in Germany, after fourth grade, you enter in a different school form. You are now beyond elementary school and into secondary school, and it starts with fifth grade immediately. So, anyways, in seventh grade, there were already heavy issues with bullying I've received from my classmates due to my Asperger's and my quirkiness in general. And one day they had decided to drown me because you know these planks, right? Where you jump off them and into the water. Well, I used them like the others too, and I, by mere accident, landed on someone else. I absolutely didn't want that, and it hurt both of us. But even though it hurt me too, obviously, I mean, landing on someone is not great for the body. They were still mad at me and thought I wasn't in pain enough, apparently. And so they had decided to drown me alive. One day, I had a near-death experience, and I remember that day all the shivering in my body and all these sounds that came out of me. They were like crying for help, and like it was like something like that, like very quiet, and I don't know, it was absolutely horrible. I felt like my whole life was in danger even after I was out of it. Like I was in complete shock, and I remember when you returned that day, all my parents said was, "Yeah, get over it." And this is not a way to treat your child, first of all, and second of all, I couldn't get over it. I remember back then the next day I came in, I want to talk like very seriously to these people, asking them what would they feel like if I did that to them, and that it was absolutely not okay what they did. They went too far with everything they did that day. Everything came out, and I remember my teachers like not liking that I was opening up about it, and the thing is, the PE teachers, they did nothing about it. And the next the next days where we had swimming classes, I was suddenly incapable of re-entering. There was a complete halt. It was like, it was the first time in my life that that I became aware that my mind was just blocked. I now know that that is trauma. That is what it does to your brain. But I didn't even know the concept of mental health at the time, or psychology, or any of that. I didn't know any of that. I was just thinking, yeah, my mind just cannot do this again. My mind's like afraid that this is going to happen again. This is like, I know this is the kind of thoughts you get after such an event. Every time something even remotely similar occurs. I know that now. And as a result, they initially wanted me to, gave me like absolutely terrible grades. It was like they even wanted me not to pass PE, and they tried to use it as an argument to make me repeat a grade, because that school also had no idea how to deal with mental health, because at the time Germany was very, very far behind when it came to psychology and mental health stuff and this kind of stuff. There was barely any awareness of it, and even at that time, it was 2019. Even that year in Germany, it was still like, people ask us, they're like these quirky guys, they're like mentally behind and stuff. It was a label that I received across my entire childhood up to that point. And so they had absolutely no understanding for my thing, and they thought I was just not courageous enough, and I was just being like this guy who doesn't have the confidence in doing anything, like is afraid of everything. They thought I was that kind of guy. I don't know the English word right now. I'm pretty sure you know what I mean. And it was terrible. After that, they undid that, and ultimately I did pass PE, but it was actually only barely, because these teachers were still acting terribly, and they were like still pushing my grade as low as they could, because my PE teacher hated me because I was making their life difficult, and instead of just doing their job, they were just being lazy and punishing me for making them do what they have to do, what they're responsible for, and no one helped me out. I was on my own, and I felt suddenly I felt betrayed and stabbed from the back by the very waters that I used to enjoy. I felt this distrust, the same way I have a hard time these days trusting people, like intimately. This is the same that I felt towards water. And the thing is that now then the years after that, I struggled with dehydration. I lost weight because of that, having already had underweight. And I also struggled with rain ever since. I absolutely couldn't stand rain, and to this day I absolutely hate it. I can't take it, and it's just too much for me. I mean, rain has always been like an issue for me because it was like, sensory stuff, just too much. The same problem with snow. But it was intensified even further, and when it rains, it's like total panic for me because I cannot deal with it. It's like even the slightest rain would feel like I'm suddenly standing in London. I mean, not that it always rains in London, but I think you know the jokes around it. We have the same jokes in Germany. Point is, I cannot deal with the very source of life, which is water. And today when I went showering, it was worse than before. I was like complete in panic. I was paralyzed. I remember my body was so shivering so much that my left leg was literally hurting from all that. It was like as if the muscle was like stressed too much, and these sounds that came out of my mouth back in 12th grade, they can not 12th grade, no, I mean when I was 12 years old, they came back. And for context, in case you don't know, people with Asperger's typically stim because it's a way to self-regulate, it's a way to deal with stress and to emotionally realign. Or at least it helps with that a lot. I remember after that, I repressed it for a long time, and now I'm working on not doing that, on just doing it, because it's been shown that stimming is the most effective way for people of this kind to release their stress, and that it's actually more effective than other ways of relieving stress that people who don't stim have. It's been shown several times at this point. And so these sounds that I'm referring to, that was the stimming that was very intense in that moment, because it was so much. It was like, my life was in danger that day, and that came back. And I remember these flashbacks today. It was terrible. It was never this bad for me before, and I'm worried that it might escalate now, because, to be honest, I think the reason that this is intensifying so much is that I am not even sure what will be done with me. So, to be clear, I now live in a social facility. I moved out from my parents in November last year, 2024, and it is paid by the German Jugendamt. And the thing is that they had decided to stop paying for the social service and to return me to my parents. The reason they haven't done it yesterday, as was planned, was that I had serious issues with suicidal thoughts, because my mind was like, rather die than going back to your parents. And I actually got into a hospital on Thursday, and they officially confirmed that something was off with me. I needed psychological help, like seriously. And then the Jugendamt had decided to let me stay until Monday, and then for a certain test period where the Jugendamt will essentially give me as many conditions as they please, and if I don't follow them, I return to my parents. And the way that the Jugendamt is treating me reminds me a lot of running on eggshells back when I lived with my parents. So essentially, I have moved out of a toxic family, only to realize that the people in the Jugendamt are now themselves toxic, now that I'm making their lives a bit harder. And I mean their jobs, not their lives. I'm not endangering them or anything. No, it's just they have to do their job now. And as is common in Germany, unfortunately, most workers, especially in administrative jobs, are extremely lazy and try to do as little as possible, while earning the most money they can. And it's exactly what they're doing with me now. They're just trying to save money and work with me by just saying, yeah, let's do the easy thing and return me back to my parents. Not doable. I will not do that. And the thing is that the way they've treated me is terrible. For instance, I remember the thing is they went to visit me once on Tuesday and once on Friday. And on Tuesday, I remember them saying that I can't run away forever, that the only ones I would need are them to talk about my struggles. So essentially trying to isolate me from strangers. And it's exactly one-to-one the same behaviors as the one of my parents. I know my parents are very manipulative so far that even adults are easily manipulated by them. And my hypothesis is that my parents, as so often, were successful with their manipulation towards the very Jugendamt that is responsible for actually helping me. So, because the thing is that they are also in touch with my parents, because legally they are still responsible for my upbringing. However, I want to change that via a court case. And another thing is that what was I saying? That is the Jugendamt. Really, they are behaving like my parents. I see a reflection of my parents in them, which is very unfortunate, especially considering that for all the time prior to me moving out, they actually did do a good job. But now the thing is that previously, in their eyes, I've been this always obedient and quiet and calm sheep. And suddenly, I have become this courageous and, in their eyes, rebellious teen. And now they're just saying, just doing the easy thing and saying, yeah, he's just trying to impose his will onto our decisions. He's just, they are blaming me for standing up for my rights, to put it short. And that is toxic. That is straight up toxic. They don't validate my very rights that, in fact, they should know about, and they are in any German law book. It's just ridiculous. And they're even going against certain United conventions of the UN. It's just ridiculous. And just because I am minor and not 18 plus yet doesn't mean they can treat me like an object, because this is what I'm feeling like right now. And that whole situation is adding on to my stress. And going back to this water thing, back then, to be honest, they didn't do that much of a good job either, because they never got me a psychologist. Well, they wanted to, but my parents insisted that it wouldn't be necessary, that they would be essentially the psychologists for me, which they weren't, and they were just blaming me for my fear, which is ridiculous. They did the same thing for my fear of fire, which also caused other issues with my chemistry teacher at the time. There was also all the stuff revolving my sensory sensitivity at school, which were also not handled properly, and also the stuff regarding me being high functioning, and the whole story around do I skip grades, yes or no, and ultimately I only skipped one because my parents would always argue that I was socially, and like I was mentally behind when it came to social skills, which was not true. I had a lot of good connections, and the only reason I started to like trust in people was traumatic experiences which were never properly resolved. And B, even if it may look like I just socialize differently, yeah, what else do you expect? I have a certain condition. You should know very well that someone with Asperger's is going to just socialize differently. Like, what does what does he expect? Like honestly, like what else? How else do you think is it going to be? And it is unfortunately many adults are too quick and always label these differences in functioning as being mentally behind. And my parents were influential enough to convince the Jugendamt not to properly support my me being high functioning, and as a result I became frustrated with school, and it ultimately was one of the causes of my mental health issues. It also led to me being just disappointed in humanity and doomerism and all this stuff. I remember there was a time where I was like super worried about the world going down because of the environment. I now know, yeah, everything's going to adapt. Like evolution is a thing. Not that the way we were we are wasting our resources was a good thing. However, if we continue like this, it won't kill the world. It might kill us, but not the world. So, yeah, I suppose. I suppose that's not really the same. What am I talking about here? Long story short, the Jugendamt right now is doing a terrible job, and I'm planning on suing them. And I'm also planning on suing my parents if it is necessary. Maybe suing the Jugendamt is enough to get rid of the legal bond between my parents and I, which unfortunately still exists, and then I would never have to move out, and I would never have to move in back into that household again, because then they would no longer be my parents legally, which would be awesome. And yeah, I'm just trying to figure out my life, and one big part of my life is being able to deal with water, because it's everywhere. It's in beverages, it's in hygiene. It's two important things. Staying hydrated and staying in hygiene are two very important things. I absolutely value hygiene, but my mind makes it really hard for me. And I also wish I could drink more water, because I know that that is one thing that can help me gain weight, but it's not going to happen anytime soon, because there's still just so much to process. There are some things I cannot heal on my own. And I did what I could in the past 2 years, trying to deal with my family, with my mental health issues, always hoping that things would get better. Eventually realized they won't get better, and want out of it. And the Jugendamt is basically saying that now that I'm an adult, I must face my problems. Yeah, how is it going to help for me to face my family if they are literally neglecting me? And yeah, how's that going to help? It's almost as if they thought that my parents were angels and just misunderstood on my end. This is not the case, and they absolutely don't get what the issue actually is. And the Jugendamt is endangering my mental sanity because they are playing around with me. Let's be real. They are playing around with me and my health. That's not okay. I'm not an object. And I don't want to be treated as such. So I suppose that's it for now. I'm just thinking whether there's anything more to say. I think not. Just one more thing. I wanted to take something from this. If you take one thing from this, it's the following. If your child goes through something really hard, don't tell them to just get over it. Help them. Do what it takes so they can get over it, but they can't do it on their own. Do it with them. And make sure they get the help they need. And if a German viewer wants to take one thing from this, it's to always keep a close eye at the Jugendamt in case they are involved in your children's business. So, yeah, that's what I want to say. Tell me if you had any similar experiences. Write it down. I have a new Discord server. It's called the Random 87's Health Center. And just go in there and vent and rant as much as you want. And trust me, there's one channel for basically anything. So, yeah, I suppose that's it. And since something German was involved in here, let me say goodbye in German. So, bis dann, wir sehen uns und bis zum nächsten Mal. See you next time.